I had to use him as my helper today. He was sitting right behind me, and I thought this is the perfect sort of side prop. He normally is on my table for today's very quick conversation because I have an appointment really soon. My husband and I actually bought this this head, this little mini statue when we were traveling in, where the heck were we? I can't remember if it was Angkor Wat. Have any of you been there? In Cambodia, or I think it was in China somewhere. But here's what I would love to chat about, and I literally have like 10 minutes. So hopefully this is the 10 minutes that you've been wanting, that you've been needing in your life. I had a conversation, actually let me back up. Before I tell you about the conversation, as with all conversations that I bring to this platform or in my newsletter, this is a conversation for all of you creative heroines. You know, the woman and the women who move from problem to solution to express to the world who they really are. So this conversation is no different than any others that I love to have. It's really hopefully supporting you to be even more conscious in your life, even more conscious in your communication, even more conscious in your relationships, so that you can truly not just express who you are, but as a result of expressing exactly who you are, that powerful, resilient, creative woman, then you're literally, doors are swinging open. It's so much easier for you to actually get to where you want to be because you are literally the epitome of solution. You know, someone who is chasing down solution. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Michelle Gelati, and this is just one of the things that I talk about, you know, in this space. You know, a lot of what I have to really that is sort of near and dear to my heart is around conscious living and conscious everything, conscious parenting, conscious businessing, of course, brand strategy, success coaching is sort of what I do with my entrepreneur clients. And what I love is that all of those conversations absolutely help us with our daily living as well. So everything that I talk about as far as, you know, growing a business and being successful in that business or being successful in the expression of who you are to be able to grow that business are absolutely topics, truths, very real sort of daily life things, habits that we can sort of put into motion and into play to also in life, you know, really get to where we want to be and have the most amazing relationships and really feel, let's just, you know, call it what it is, really on a daily basis, feel really good. So this morning I had a conversation with a Buddhist monk. We were on the phone. Actually, he was one of about 4 or 5 people that when my mother passed away a couple of years ago, and if you've been watching, I think one of my last 2 live streams, I spoke a little bit more in detail around, sort of how to, overcome, or I should say move through grief. So if you are in this space right now, meaning if you are in the space of walking your own sort of grief path, definitely check out one of my last 2 live streams. And when she passed away a couple of years ago, it was really unexpected. And so I had the download, I had the idea to, in that moment, really for the next like 2 to 3 months, every sort of week or 2 weeks, I would take myself and my son, and we would meet and sit down with someone new, meaning someone of a different faith. It happened to be this Buddhist monk a couple of years ago whom I haven't spoken to for about a couple of years, and we were speaking on the phone this morning. We also went to a Hindu temple. We also went to a Catholic church. We went to a Christian church. We spoke to a rabbi. There's a couple of other people that we spoke to. Again, this is still really in the theme of sort of moving from problem to solution. I really made it my goal and an exercise to connect with these people, so that not only my son could, of course, so we could soothe his heart, so that he could really see and hear, not just from the perspective, let's say culturally or through religion, of how these different sort of belief systems, you know, how what they believe about death, and sort of how they move through their own grief journey. Because each of these gentlemen and or women that we spoke to, of course, had experienced loss, had experienced, you know, sort of a broken heart. So it was wonderful for him to hear about how each of these sort of strangers, you know, sort of friends who hadn't met before or met yet, how they had journeyed through it. And then it also was really, of course, fascinating to open his eyes to how big the world is, how many belief systems there are, just how many ways there are to move through something, and that each of the ways is beautiful. You know, not every single one of us is going to have the same belief systems, and that is okay. So it was a beautiful experience to go through with my son a couple years ago. And again, in that experience, I met this Buddhist monk, and we spoke this morning. And here's the beautiful thing that came out of that. So he was sharing with me around how every first Thursday of the month there's a group of people who come to the temple here in Los Angeles, and they basically talk about their problems. And he said something to the effect of, well, and you know, Michelle, everybody comes with their unique set of problems. And I said, yes, I'm sure they do. And we just, sort of kept talking for over about 15, 20 minutes. And here's what I find fascinating, and here's what I really want to leave in your heart. And hopefully this will help you continue to move from problem to solution in hopes of expressing to the world who you truly are. Number one, as much as we honor moving from problem to solution, I really do believe it's important to, especially sort of in that acute phase, when we're first dealing with something, it is so important to talk about our problem and to feel heard, to feel seen, to really be in that moment of community, of support, of compassion. It is vital when we first are starting on a journey to receive that. So I really, as he said that, I remember thinking, wow, isn't that so the human condition? Meaning we want to talk about our problems. And it's so absolutely normal and, like I said, necessary. And it also made me think, how we need to honor that space a little bit more. In the sense that, it is, in essence, once you and I start actually to talk about a problem or a discomfort or something that we want to move beyond, in a sense, we could call it sort of the beginning of our commitment to find a solution. You and I would not be talking about a problem or a perceived problem or a discomfort or a sadness or grief or whatever it is that we're experiencing if we didn't want to find the place outside of that feeling, meaning move beyond it. So I think it's so important to talk about, of course, what is going on in our life. And I think, in fact, in this virtual day and age, I feel like we are moving we've moved sort of beyond that. So I have made a commitment, my husband has made a commitment as well, to bring more of sort of that virtual world and bring it into our living room. So you'll see there's some balloons back here that say they're 2 G's and a P, the Greater Good Party. We just hosted a Greater Good Party on Saturday, which was essentially us bringing people, yes, some people we knew, some people we didn't know well, and some people we didn't know at all. Maybe we've met we've met people online, maybe it's sort of colleagues or sort of, people in sort of the same business, some people who were not in sort of the same industry, and we all came together for good. We talked about art, we talked about how we can support people outside of ourselves. I talked about my refugee camp experience. We drew photos for the kids on that refugee camp. We talked about literally exactly that, the greater good, and it was a beautiful, beautiful gathering. And so, I think we need to feel in that space of feeling supported. Now, there comes a time in the journeying from problem to solution, or I should say, there can be a moment where we sort of sit in problem. We sit in problem a little too long. So in other words, here's my first question, my first takeaway from today's live stream and from today's video is, do your problems, do you feel like, if you really get honest with yourself, do your problems have more power over you than you feel empowered, than you feel power? Because if the answer is yes, meaning, and again, if we're just in something, take as much time as you want. But I know there are so many moments in life where 6 months later, and I don't mean grief per se, I mean just daily sort of little problems, maybe even medium-sized problems, where, 6 months down the line, 2 years down the line, we're still talking about the same problem without the filter, meaning without the commitment, without the I or un-I to solution. Like, I am going to find a solution to this particular discomfort, to this particular problem, to this particular conversation gone awry. I'm going to figure this out. So, we just sort of are complaining. We're just sort of saying the same thing over again, and we're sitting in that problem. As one of my healers says, we sit in a dirty diaper for a lot longer than we need to. So that's my first question to you. Do your problems have more power over you than you feel empowered? And if they have more power, you then, it's so much harder, it is so much more difficult to be powerful. When you talk about leadership, when we talk about leadership, being a woman who is the leading lady in her life, being a woman who is the CEO of her business, who is the mother she wants to be, who is the leader of her movement that she wants to be. It's really, really difficult to be powerful and to own a room. When I talk about owning the energy that you bring to a room, this is what I talk about. We must own the energy that we bring to a room. We must be way more aware, way more honest, way more real about the energy, the words, the complaints, the problems that we're bringing to someone's living room, the problems that we're bringing to someone's ear as we're talking to them on the cell phone. And again, as I mentioned earlier, let's honor problem, meaning let's talk more, let's be in community more, let's hold more greater good parties so we can talk about the problems of the world and so that we can be in solution. But that's the other important thing that I really wanted to leave with everyone today is when we are talking about problem, try, if you're not already in the practice, try or do your best to, as you're talking about problem, immediately even say to yourself or say to your friend, now the reason that I am talking to you about this is because by the end of this conversation, I really want to feel that I am cozying up to, that I'm getting closer to solution. So owning the energy that we bring to a room, really important. Be more conscious, be more aware of what it is that you are bringing to the table. And again, continue to ask yourself or use the filter of what is the solution? By the end of this conversation, I may not have it all figured out, but what is, if I can feel even 10% closer to solution than I was before this conversation, then not only have I owned the energy that I brought to this room or this conversation, but I am going to feel empowered. I am going to feel powerful. And I'm also going to, again, when we talk about women's leadership and running a business and growing that business, to the degree that we really want, we need to continue to, every single day, own the energy that we bring to a room so that we can own a room, that's in quotes, own a room in terms of our leadership. So I talk more about, yesterday actually in my newsletter, we sent out an MP3. It's about a 40-minute, I basically share seven things that I do to sort of move from today's problem to grow tomorrow's business. I think that's what the newsletter was called, or the blog was called. So I don't have time. Again, I have an appointment to go to right now, but I would love to share that with you. Many of you probably are not on my list, which is fine. But if you are interested in getting the recording for how to move through today's problem to grow tomorrow's business, if you could just comment down below saying would love the recording or whatever version of that you want, then we will send you literally just a direct message within Facebook Messenger. We will send you that recording, because I have, again, when we talk about being creative heroines, it really is about this daily practice, this daily commitment that you and I get to make again every single day, so that we are moving from problem to solution to express to the world who we really are. And if we have big goals and if we have big dreams to grow, to create something meaningful in the world, to create impact, to grow businesses that are just that we can look back on and go, wow, how did I do that? Like, this is amazing that I've built this. We need to, on a more regular basis, really not just, definitely own the energy that we bring to each room and each conversation, but we need to really figure out a way to move through problem on a daily basis, know what to say, how to, there's just different practices, there's different sort of energetic things that we can do, again, that I sort of detail in this recording. We need to do these things so that we can be the woman that we know ourselves to be, because it's all in there: resilience, creativity, power, sensitivity, compassion, drive, amazing energy. It's all in there. And it really is dependent, or I should say the energy and everything that I just mentioned grows exponentially if on a daily basis you and I are really being regally responsible for moving through these sort of smaller, maybe even medium-sized problems that occur, on a daily basis. So again, if you want that recording, feel free to let me know down in the comments, and then we will share that recording with you. But for now, I am off to an appointment. As always, enjoy your business and enjoy your life, and I can't wait to chat with you soon. Bye-bye.